Oklahomans struggling to pay their rent have an additional concern now. The federal eviction moratorium ends on Saturday. Steve Shaw talks with the Rebecca Najera, a reporter with our content partner Oklahoma Watch, on what tenants and landlords can expect if a spike in evictions does take place.
When someone jumps out at you and they scare you and your heart starts beating fast, that's what eviction is like. But that you never calm back down. That heart rate never slows back down, and you're terrified.
The woman I followed around, her name was Tara Atkins. She's a volunteer tenants' right leader with Action in Tulsa. And she actually lost her job in March of last year whenever everything first started shutting down. And later that year, she found out she had cancer. So she's been unable to go back to work, but she still is one of those people who wants to help others, avoid facing eviction themselves.
Rebecca, how many times has the eviction moratorium been extended since the pandemic began?
Well, the moratorium has actually been extended 4 times. It was originally established in September of last year and was meant to expire in December 31st. And then it was extended to January 31st, then to March 31st, then to June 30th, and then finally the end of this month.
Did it stop all evictions?
No, so the moratorium only stopped evictions for non-payment of rent, but people could still be evicted for other lease violations, like failure to maintain property. So say like your grass was overgrown and your landlord asked you to mow it, you didn't mow it after X amount of days, I think it's 10-15 days, you can be evicted for something like that.
How many evictions have been filed in the state since March of 2020?
Approximately 38,000 evictions have been filed here in the state of Oklahoma.
Do you know how many have been granted?
A little more than 15,000 have been granted.
Rebecca, how many Oklahoma households are behind in rent and how much do they owe?
Found that about 74,000 Oklahoma households are behind on rent, with an estimate of $176.8 million in back rent built up.
Rebecca, what are the landlords saying?
So I talked with someone who's a landlord, but also is a real estate professor and serves on the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. And bigger landlords are probably not as affected just because they own multiple properties, and they have that income still coming in. But this more affects people who may only own 1 or 2 properties, smaller landlords. So if they're not receiving payment and that's their only source of income, they're struggling too. They have to go to their banks too and ask for, relief as well. If they're not getting income, they need to go to their banks, talk to their banks. The banks need to talk to investors. It's just kind of a never-ending chain, I guess you could say.
And are tenants aware there is help out there?
There's still federal relief out there through the end of this year. You can go to, I think it's Oklahoma Community Partners, something like that. And then Restore Hope in Tulsa. They also are helping with rental assistance as well. So there's sources out there. So if you're behind, there's still help available. It doesn't stop when the moratorium stops.
Rebecca Najera, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you for having me.